film begins in 1857, aboard a ship on an exploratory mission to the North Pole, commanded by Captain Anderson. However, the ship becomes trapped in the ice due to a powerful storm. At that moment, one of the soldiers calls out to Captain Anderson, asking what they should do. They realize that the men are exhausted and unable to remove the ice from beneath the ship. They wonder whether they should return home or continue the journey. Anderson responds, urging them to keep working, reminding them that they accepted the mission and must see it through. During the night, a soldier alerts Anderson to an explosion 3 kilometers away from the ship. Anderson gathers a team of men and heads to the site. There, they find the snow stained with a large amount of blood and discover a man still alive but gravely wounded. As they approach, they notice he has a prosthetic leg, so they decide to take him aboard the ship for treatment. At that moment, they hear a powerful roar echoing around them and prepare to defend themselves, unsure of the nature of the creature producing it. Suddenly, a supernaturally strong being approaches them. Bullets have no effect on it, and its wounds heal instantly. The creature continues moving toward them, killing anyone who stands in its path. It manages to reach the ship's deck and demands that they hand over Victor. They then realize that Victor is the man they had rescued earlier. At that moment, one of the soldiers fires a powerful weapon at the creature, knocking it to the ground. Everyone thinks it is dead, but they are shocked when it rises again and begins pushing the ship, causing it to tilt dangerously. Anderson grabs his weapon and shoots at the ice beneath the creature, causing a massive crack that sends it plunging into the frozen waters. Moments later, Anderson gives Victor herbal medicine. Victor asks about the creature's whereabouts and how many men it has killed. Anderson tells him that it has killed 6, shocking Victor. He warns Victor that the creature will return and kill even more. However, Anderson argues that the creature fell into the water and likely froze to death. Victor explains that the creature does not die and that he has tried many times to destroy it without success. He asks that, should the creature return, they allow him to capture it. Anderson is perplexed by Victor's words, unable to fully comprehend them. It is then that Victor reveals a horrifying truth. He is the one who originally created the creature. Victor begins recounting his story to Anderson, explaining that his name is Victor Frankenstein, a name given by his father, meaning the key. He tells him that his father was a baron and a renowned surgeon who married Victor's mother for personal gain, as she possessed a large inheritance from her family, thereby securing a respected social position. We learn that Victor's father was absent for most of his life, but whenever he returned home, he frequently argued with Victor's mother. One day, Victor's mother enters his room and embraces him, revealing the contempt his father held for them both, due to their black hair and eyes, which differed from the blonde hair and colored eyes of his ancestors. Despite this, Victor's father teaches him lessons in medicine. When Victor cannot answer a question, his father decides to punish him. Victor reaches out, thinking his father will strike his hand, but instead, his father slaps him across the face, telling him he carries his name and reputation and must become a successful doctor like him. Days later, Victor is playing with his mother when she suddenly complains of pain. It becomes clear that she is going into labor. Victor panics and calls his father, who rushes with a group of servants to tend to her. Later, we see that Victor's mother has died, and Victor walks away from her grave, weeping bitterly. Time passes, and we see Victor's father with his son William, who has colored eyes and blonde hair. Because of this, his father is particularly attentive to him. Victor becomes convinced that his father allowed his mother to die during childbirth. When he confronts his father about it, the elder denies it, insisting that no one can defy death. Victor responds defiantly, declaring that he will overcome death and learn far more than his father ever did in his lifetime. That night, Victor is reborn. Years pass and Victor's father dies. Afterwards, Victor moves from city to city as he studies all branches of medicine, while William lives with their relatives. In 1855, a disciplinary court is held for Victor at the Royal College of Surgeons in England, due to his claim that he can grant life to the dead. At that moment, a man named Henrique enters the courtroom and sits down, observing Victor with great interest. Victor then examines the body of a deceased man, whose brain is intact, but whose arm is connected to a human arm taken from another corpse. At that moment, Victor channels energy into the dead body, causing it to move in front of everyone present, shocking the entire assembly, including the jury. They demand that he stop this charade, labeling him a charlatan and a sorcerer, but Victor defiantly responds that he will achieve his ambition elsewhere, far from them. As a result, he is expelled from the college. After the trial, Victor returns home, where he meets Henrique, who introduces himself and delivers a message from Victor's brother, William. William is engaged to Henrique's niece, named Eliza. Victor allows him to enter and learns that Henrique is an arms dealer. Victor asks if William will come to see him, and Henrique replies that he will, but not immediately, as William is constantly busy achieving great success in his work. Henrik praises Victor's performance at the court, telling him that he believes in his project and is willing to fund it generously, inviting Victor to visit him at his house. Victor agrees. A few days later, Victor visits Henrik's home, where Henrik shows him a remarkable piece of art made of wood. A model of the human nervous system constructed from a human corpse. Victor is amazed by the model, and Henrik tells him that it will help him achieve his theory. Victor then shares with Henrik an idea he has been developing to attain eternal life. Henrik becomes enthusiastic and offers unlimited funding for the project, in addition to providing a laboratory in a large tower he owns. Victor asks what Henrik wants in return, and Henrik replies that he will request a favor, but not yet. At that moment, William and his fiancée Eliza arrive. Victor runs to embrace his brother, who introduces him to his fiancée, Henrik's daughter. During lunch, William talks about what happened at Victor's trial. Victor defends himself and begins to explain how science could bring humans back to life. Eliza laughs at his words, prompting Victor to ask why she is laughing. Henrik then takes William into his office, leaving Victor alone with Eliza. Eliza begins to challenge Victor, showing that she is unconvinced by his ideas. She even says that only fools believe in such concepts. Victor is shocked by her words but remains silent. Afterwards, Victor accompanies William and Henrik to see the tower that will be converted into his laboratory. Although abandoned, Victor is fascinated by it and feels that this is the place where he will realize his dreams. Henrik assures him that everything he requests will be provided. Victor becomes thrilled, begins requesting additional necessary equipment to start his work, and enlists William's help in setting up the laboratory. At this moment, Henrik approaches Victor and shakes his hand, signaling the completion of their agreement. Later, Victor is seen amidst a public execution, selecting which of the condemned he will take the corpse from after death. He then notices Eliza on the street, and curiosity compels him to follow her until she enters a church. He decides to enter the confessional room, pretending to be the priest. Eliza confesses to him that she feels hatred toward her fiancé's brother. Victor is upset but eventually reveals his identity to her and invites her to lunch at a restaurant to get closer to her. Victor asks her about the books she purchased. She asks him to guess. He assumes they must be romance novels, but Eliza surprises him by revealing that they are books about insects. She tells him she is also interested in science. Victor then invites her to dance and she agrees. Later, Victor is seen supervising the preparation of the laboratory with William, giving him specific instructions to complete before leaving. After a few days, Victor is seen spending time with Elisa, catching a butterfly together, and it becomes clear that Victor has feelings for his brother's fiancée. The next day, he returns to the laboratory, which is now fully prepared, and attempts to revive a dead body by inserting several needles into the spinal cord. But his attempt fails, and he is unsuccessful. At night, Victor enjoys Elisa playing the piano at a party. When the party ends, Henrik tells him that he is waiting for the results of his experiments, and warns him not to get distracted by Elisa and forget his work. The following day, Victor is in the laboratory when he is surprised by Elisa visiting him with the butterfly they caught together. She notices the progress Victor has made in his work. Victor seizes the opportunity to tell her that he wants to confess something important and asks if she has felt the bond between them, but Elisa pushes him away and changes the subject. She then bids him farewell and leaves the laboratory. Victor remains deep in thought, trying to find a way to make his experiment succeed. Suddenly, he decides to change the placement of the needles in the corpse and is shocked when the body responds and moves. He quickly removes the needles and disconnects the batteries. A few days later, Victor is seen in a battlefield, selecting bodies from which he can take parts to create the being he intends to bring to life. He then carefully gathers the parts from the bodies in front of him. After several days of meticulous work, he succeeds in creating a perfect being, with a slender body and long limbs. Victor plans to reanimate this being using electricity, charging its nervous system to generate the energy required to restart the heart and brain. When everything is ready, he places the power source near the heart, and Victor realizes that a storm is approaching. He understands that this is the moment he has been waiting for, as his idea relies on harnessing the storm's lightning to provide the body with a massive surge of energy. Victor goes to inform Henrik, but notices strange behavior in him and discovers that Henrik is ill, his health deteriorating day by day, and that his death is only a matter of time. Henrik then confesses the truth to Victor, telling him that he wants his brain to live inside the being Victor is creating. Upon hearing this, Victor refuses and goes to install the lightning rods. However, Henrik follows him, grabs one of the rods, and threatens to throw him from the tower, trying to force Victor to agree to the procedure. Victor attempts to stop him and they struggle. In the middle of the fight, Henrik falls from the height and dies. Victor quickly rushes down to see him and is shocked to find that Henrik's brain has been completely destroyed. He leaves him and returns to continue his experiment. Finally, lightning strikes the being with electricity, but things do not go as Victor intended. He approaches the being he created and notices that its heart is not working and there is no pulse. Feeling frustrated, he decides to rest for a while. However, he is soon surprised to see the being standing before him. Fearful, he approaches it cautiously until he is reassured that it is not dangerous. The being then begins to mimic all of his movements. Victor introduces himself to the being and teaches it to speak its own name. He then takes it to a secret room in the tower, chains it for safety, and begins attending to the body parts that have not yet fused. He discovers that the being's wounds heal rapidly. At that moment, William arrives with his fiancée, Elisa. Victor rushes to greet them. When Elisa sees Victor, she asks him about her uncle, but he evades the question, telling her that Henrik has not visited for some time. Victor then takes William to show him his accomplishments and gives him a message from the medical court, explaining that it was sent to his house. Meanwhile, Elisa hears the being's voice and approaches it, shocked by its strange and terrifying appearance. She then goes to confront Victor and asks him about the nature of this being. Victor takes them inside and begins explaining that he is the one who created the being, and he tells them that he has chained it for safety. He asks William about its intelligence, saying that the being is stupid and does not understand, but it becomes clear that Elisa has a different opinion. That night, Elisa returns to visit the being. She approaches it and tells it her name, patiently trying to teach it until, in the end, she succeeds in getting it to pronounce her name. The being gives her a leaf that it had in its hand, and Elisa is overjoyed, thanking it before saying goodbye and returning to her room. However, Victor stops her and warns her not to approach the being again. Elisa yells at him, insisting that he is treating the being like an animal even though it is gentle and peaceful. Victor feels upset by her words and goes to the being, asking it to say a word other than its own name, but the being is unable to speak any other word. Victor grabs a stick and strikes it. The next day, William sees Henrik's body, which Victor has been hiding. Victor tricks him into believing that the being killed Henrik and instructs him to take Elisa and leave until Victor can dispose of the body. William follows his instructions and leaves with Elisa. Meanwhile, Victor pours gasoline throughout the tower, including the place where the being is chained. He tells the being that if it speaks any word other than its name, he will let it live. Victor is shocked when the being pronounces Elisa's name. Furious, he sets fire to the entire tower. When he exits, he is shocked by what he has done and tries to return to save it. However, as soon as he opens the door, an explosion throws him violently, and his leg detaches from his body. At that moment, Elisa suspects that Victor will try to get rid of the being, sensing that he is jealous of the attention she gives it. She insists to William that they must return, threatening to jump from the carriage if he refuses. William obeys her. When they reach the tower, they discover that it has been completely destroyed. Meanwhile, Victor and Anderson hear a commotion outside the room. Anderson opens the door to investigate and is terrified to find the being standing there. He grabs it by the neck, but Victor shouts at the being to let it go and explains that he can take it instead. Anderson tells the being that Victor has told him his story, but the being responds that it is now his turn to tell them his own story. The story then flashes back to the time of the fire. The being calls out for Victor, but to no avail. It frees itself from the chains and escapes through a drainage opening, falling into the water. When it wakes, it finds itself far from the tower and begins wandering aimlessly. It comes across a dead warrior, taking his clothes and wearing them. Shortly afterward, it sees some deer and approaches one, eating the plants around it. However, two hunters appear and open fire, uncertain whether the being is a monster or human. The being flees injured, but its wounds quickly heal. It continues walking until it reaches a farm and hides in a barn, observing the family. It overhears an elderly blind man teaching his granddaughter to read and watches them continuously, learning from them. At night, the being secretly helps the family. The next morning, they are surprised to find the fences neatly arranged around their home. The following day, they are delighted to see that it has built a large wooden enclosure around their sheep. The elderly man tells them that the spirit of the forest is helping them. One day, a pack of wolves attacks the farm. The family drives them away with gunfire and decides to follow the wolves to keep them away from their property. The elderly man refuses to go with them, remaining alone. During this time, the being thinks carefully about how to introduce itself to the old man. In the end, it decides to reveal itself to him. The elderly man treats the being kindly, giving it the care and affection it had long been missing in its life, something it never received from Victor. Over time, the elderly man teaches the being to read and encourages it to study books to improve its ability to communicate. One day, while talking together, the elderly man asks the being if it remembers anything about its past. The being replies that it only recalls fire, fear, intense cold, and one word that constantly echoes in its mind: Victor. The elderly man advises it to go search for Victor, and it decides to do so. It returns to the ruins of the tower and finds the letter that had been sent to Victor, which includes his address as well as notes revealing the being's true nature. The being is shocked to discover that Victor created it and that it is not like other humans. It returns to the elderly man to tell him, but when it arrives, it finds that wolves have attacked the farm and are assaulting the old man. The being fights off the wolves and eliminates them all. It finds the elderly man dying and realizes that he is saddened by the truth the being has discovered, that it was created from parts of dead bodies. The elderly man reassures it that it is no different from humans and that it has been a loyal friend. The old man dies in its presence. At that moment, the elderly man's family arrives. Seeing the being beside the body, they mistakenly believe it is responsible for the death. They shoot at it, wounding its eye, but the being refuses to retaliate. They continue shooting until they assume it is dead and leave. After several days, the being wakes, its wounds having healed on their own. It now has a single goal: to reach Victor at any cost. That night, William enters Victor's room and asks him to prepare for attending Elisa's wedding. Victor goes to Elisa's room to congratulate her, but she becomes angry, strikes him, and tells him to stop pretending to be a kind human. She sends him away. Victor returns to his room, furious at what happened, but finds the being waiting for him. Victor asks if it has come to thank him for giving it life. The being responds that it wants only one thing: for him to create a female of its kind so that it may have a companion and continue its life. Victor refuses, insisting that he will not create another monster. The being becomes enraged, seizes Victor, and throws him to the ground. Hearing the commotion, Elisa rushes in and, seeing the being, embraces it. Victor fires his weapon at the being, but tragically, the bullet strikes Elisa, killing her in its arms. The being, enraged, attacks anyone who appears before it, including William, and resolves to take Elisa's body and leave. Victor runs to check on his brother and discovers that his wound is fatal. He promises to save him. William confesses that he has always been afraid of Victor, afraid of his ambition and desire to control life, and describes Victor as a monster before dying. Victor decides to pursue the being wherever it goes. One day, he is surprised to see it approaching his tent. He fires at it, but the being captures him and takes him outside. The being holds a stick of dynamite, forcing Victor to light it, warning him that if he does not, it will return to finish him. Victor runs to light it, and the explosion engulfs the area. He is thrown violently, while the being survives and its wounds heal quickly. At that moment, Victor realizes that his injuries are fatal. He takes the being's hand, apologizes for all the harm he caused, and asks for its forgiveness. The being chooses to forgive him. As Victor dies, the being approaches and kisses his head. Anderson, witnessing this, cannot believe what he is seeing. He shows compassion for the being, stands in front of the soldiers, and prevents them from attacking it. He allows it to leave the ship safely. The being pushes the ship, freeing it from the ice, and everyone rejoices because it saves them months of labor. Anderson informs them that their journey will no longer continue and that they will return home. The being, however, decides to continue on its own path, choosing to live far from humans,